and play.
What if we could talk wrestling here instead of canaries?
Sure, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but don't talk to me about it.
Baby, I'm hot, like the prodigal son.
Ready to rumble? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Wrestling News Pro podcast for WWE fans. Here are your hosts, Michael Huff and Anthony Savino, who aren't the least bit British. They just love the accent enough to pay for this voiceover. Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, everybody, welcome to Heel Turn Radio presented by Wrestling News Pro. The band is back together. I am Dan Siegel. As always, with me, Anthony Servino, and returning from a one-week hiatus, Mike Hoff.
All right, what's up?
It is WrestleMania week, boys. WrestleMania week. We are literally, let's see here. We're Thursday, so little over 72 hours away. 72 hours away if you want to count the kickoff show, since that's going to be a 5-hour-long fiesta. But I want to start off the show quickly with something not WWE related, and that's the Conor McGregor situation from earlier. If you don't know, UFC had a press conference today in New York for UFC 203, and there's been a situation between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Artem Lobov, who is Conor's teammate and one of his best friends. Those two have had confrontations lately, and apparently there was a lot of people that were concerned if they saw each other today, something might happen. Instead, what we got was Conor entering the building after the presser was over and going down into the lower bowls of, I assume it was MSG that they held it at, finding the bus that the other fighters were on, and basically going full Stone Cold Steve Austin, throwing barricades, throwing trash cans, breaking the windshield. Apparently one fighter got severe cuts, an employee broke a knuckle, a girl almost got hit, full-fledged. Apparently there's a warrant out. And all this does, I'm sorry, is remind me of the old Stone Cold storylines. Sure, could it be setting up a fight with Conor and Khabib? Absolutely, people have wanted to see that match. But from if UFC and Dana are going with the full hard stance, which is what Dana is portraying right now, Conor and WWE have already talked, and with Ronda already in the fray, the door is now, I think, more open than it was before.
Right. Yeah, well, wide open for sure. Yeah, I'm sure Triple H is going to get him on the horn and try and smooth him soon. And, I wouldn't be shocked to see him on the WrestleMania 35 card, to be honest, or maybe even SummerSlam, depending on how all this UFC stuff goes. We have to see now how all this is going to shake out now. But, yeah, definitely Stone Cold, reminiscent of the old Stone Cold days.
Took it right out of the playbook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you need to do is to have somebody throw him some beers while he was doing it. That's it.
The only thing we were missing was him running his mouth with his hands handcuffs behind him as they were walking him out. That was the only thing we were missing.
Right.
What do you think the odds are of him showing up?
We're
talking about McGregor?
Yeah.
Yep.
At WrestleMania.
Showing up at WrestleMania?
No, 0.
I mean, the Vegas odds are in the favor that he'll make an appearance.
That's true, though. I can see that
story. I think this could even further solidify it.
That story is out there, that the Vegas odds are, and those guys in Vegas, they tend to know what they're talking about. Just saying. So, might not be that far-fetched. Maybe even if it's just he's sitting in the crowd. And they pan to him for 5 seconds, because that's all you need too.
Does he pull the Ronda from 3 years ago?
Yeah, well, maybe not to that. Maybe not even to that extent. I'm saying all they have to do is just pan the camera to Conor, and all he's got to do is wave or make some hand gesture, and Twitter will burst into flames. The next day, as much as they'll be talking about like the results, they'll be talking about when is Connor going to be in a WWE ring.
True.
So, crazy things have happened, and God knows the guy has the money to buy some ringside seats.
All right. So speaking of Stone Cold, the Hall of Fame is tomorrow night. You know, when we have that whole situation, Goldberg obviously leading the class and everybody else. And everybody is in the person who's inducting them has been announced except for Kid Rock, which, whatever. The rumor going around is that Stone Cold is going to be inducting Kid Rock, which to me makes no sense. The logical person you can't use because A, we never see him out of character, and B, if we don't know if there's going to be a match on Sunday, wink, wink, he can't be inducting him. But
right.
Stone Cold?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch the Hall of Fame this year just because I like to do it every year. I'm not as I mean, listen, obviously they're all big names because they're all making the Hall of Fame, but I'm not in love with this Hall of Fame class as opposed to last year's. I enjoyed last year's. I don't think anybody's really going to kill it on the mic. Whatever. But Stone Cold doesn't make sense, but it's just like you said, everybody but the Undertaker doesn't make sense. So either way, they're going to miss the mark here unless they decide to have. I've seen some rumors that people say that the Undertaker is going to come out and that's where he's going to challenge John Cena. Spoiler alert: the whole John Cena buildup is not going to come to fruition at the Friday Night Hall of Fame special.
Just you know what?
Yeah, it's
that would put creative on a whole other level if that happened. Okay, we know every week I sit here and bash on creative, but
there's not enough viewers. There's no viewership there. They'd be losing out.
Right. Exactly. That's why that will not happen. But you know, whoever's going to induct him, it doesn't make sense. So might as well just throw a big name out there. Screw it.
You could have Cena go up there and induct him, and then just take more shots, like we've seen for the last month.
Right.
You know, like, hey, I'm here as a fan, but I'm still going to try. You know. Yeah. Like, hey, could you play the music real quick? Maybe that'll stir him up.
Well,
you're not excited about who? Is anybody here a Jeff Jarrett fan?
I like Double J back in the day.
I like Double J.
He's one of those wrestlers I never got behind. I actually can't stand Jeff Jarrett, and I'm a heel guy.
Here we go.
I'm a heel guy,
so
but I couldn't.
You also hate Kurt Angle.
I could. Oh, yeah. Again, another overrated. The both of them.
Just start talking about Jeff Jarrett. What about Jeff Jarrett? Anything?
He was. The whole Double J angle was a ripoff. I
love it. When you spell out the name, it's classic.
Come on,
seriously,
fantastic, man.
Missing the boat again.
Fantastic. Anyway, well,
rhythm and blues. If you're gonna do that angle, rhythm and blues.
We'll save the Kurt Angle stuff for another podcast because we could spend a good hour on that, just tearing you to shreds about that, and it might as well throw in Bret Hart while we're at it.
I would say we could have a whole other conversation about how he wants Triple H on the Mount Rushmore.
How can you not put Triple H on the Mount Rushmore?
God, don't even start. Don't even start.
Well, listen.
Move on.
Let's get it back to WrestleMania 34. Let's just do this now. Let's get this out of the way now.
You want to do the predictions now?
Well, I was going to say let's put one of the biggest ones first, and then we'll start from whatever low card and move our way up to the big stuff. I want to ask now. Let's just get all the viewership happy now. What do we think's happening with The Undertaker?
It's happening. It's 100%
happening. It's happening.
And it's not.
You're saying a match is going to happen? An actual
a match is
it's going to be an impromptu match.
Yeah, we're not going to get where he comes out and he responds, and this is a build-up for a year. This is happening Sunday night.
I don't know. I'm on the other end. If you guys read the predictions, which by the way, if you go to WrestlingNewsPro.com, our predictions are up from the three of us, and also Mikey L, or he likes to be called ATL Mike. So whatever you want to call him, his predictions are there as well. I'm of the mindset that I think Cena's going to go out there and even though he's not an egomaniac, he's going to take a 20-minute segment to talk about himself and talk about how he's such a fan and he's so happy, and he's going to drink beers with the fans. And I think at that point, Undertaker's going to come out. You could see, since it's not a stadium show, we can get one of those lights, the lights turn out scenario, come back on, Undertaker standing behind him, delivers a choke slam, and that's all we see of the Undertaker. And then next night on Raw, that's when we get the year-long build-up. Because I'm of the mindset, and I heard some reports like this, that Undertaker wasn't too sure how his hip was going to react. Cena was apparently supposed to go out to Texas to train with the Undertaker a little bit to see how the hip would hold up. I bet the Undertaker wants to buy a little more time. I don't see the Undertaker doing his last match as some impromptu match. I just don't see it.
Then maybe it's not going to be his last match.
WrestleMania 35. But how many more matches does this guy have in him?
I mean, you're working one match a year.
Yeah. And as early as this morning, I saw something completely different in which Taker's been training for months, and that everybody inside WWE is saying the match will indeed happen on Sunday night. Here's the big thing, okay? First of all, I'm curious to see when are they doing it, okay? It's not going to be early on. You're not going to get it in that 7 to 8 range, but are they going to do it in the 8 to 9 range, in that 9 to 10? Like, I really don't think they'll push it toward the end because you want to save time for, obviously, the Ronda match and the Brock match. You know, this isn't going to be a 5-minute Brock match, but how soon do they get into it? And the other thing is, you know, John Cena is supposedly going to this as a fan. So as a fan, I don't want him backstage. I want him in the crowd. Yeah. So if you're going to do it that way, he can't be in a suite up top. Like, he can't be, you know, Seth Rollins up in the cheap seats on the roof. He's got to be down low where it's easy access.
Yeah, I'll say this: the longer it takes for us to get John Cena in the ring to talk about how he's having a great time being a fan, is probably more likely that we're going to get a match. I don't like, for example, the show won't open with John Cena coming down talking about being a fan, and that's not when Undertaker's going to come out. I think if it happens, it'll be the longer we wait for Cena to get into the ring, the more likely we may be that we may get a match. I mean, I hope we do. I think it's a strange and awkward build-up to a guy who this could be his last match. Anthony, what says you?
You know, if you read my article, anybody out there read my article, there's always that possibility that the Undertaker's going to run in on the Lesnar match. There's a reason why Paul Heyman mentioned it happened in this stadium, the only two that beat the Undertaker. And it happened here, the first one, and it's all coming together here for Brock. Why not? And I don't know how, unless that's how you set up the whole Cena thing for next year. You have the Undertaker run in, you bring Cena out. I mean, that could be another way. I think that's the only way you can have it. Maybe the Undertaker's going to have one more run in him on limited action. You don't know. He has a new hip. It could be feeling good. Maybe he can do it for another year or a half a year or a couple pay-per-views. You don't know.
This is Vince's fault, plain and simple. He knew, we talked about it last week, he knew for weeks ahead of time that Daniel Bryan was cleared. He leaked that. He put that out to get the hype surrounding this WrestleMania. He's decided to go the opposite with The Undertaker, thinking that the mystique around will he, won't he, and his name is enough to build this hype up. And frankly, I'm sorry, it's not. It's not a match that I'm dying to see. It's got to have something behind it, and they haven't done anything to do that.
You know, is there any possibility, you know, here's another possibility or another, you know, and we talked about this off air about doing, if I could book it my way, here's another way they could do it is if Kane is going to, you know, let's say Kane retires at WrestleMania. There's another opportunity there because Kane, he's running for that government position, and he's probably done in May.
4 months pregnant.
You even want to get into physiques of guys who shouldn't be wrestling? I mean, then it's my guy Triple H can hold it up.
Well, we'll get there.
Calm down there. Calm down there.
We'll get to Triple H. All right. So, all right, Dan. So, what do you want to do? You want to start from the top? You want to start from the bottom of the card, work our way up?
Sure. I mean, do we want to go through the kickoff show? Like, do we really want to talk about this cruiserweight and battle royal thing? Because nobody gives a damn.
No.
Okay.
Which is a shame.
Here's the thing. Okay, and we were talking about it while it was happening. When Primo is getting TV time, you know there's a problem.
Yep.
When was the last time you saw Primo?
I think I'm on TV more than Primo is.
And Primo is cruiserweight, right?
Who knows?
I have no idea.
You got to figure within like the past 6 months, they lost Austin Aries, they lost Neville, they lost Enzo. That was your whole division, essentially. There's three of your top guys.
Yeah, I think there's some guys there that are underappreciated, but that's just because of what they're putting out. And again, I think that's Vince's fault. And then also because Vince wanted to go with the wacky sort of things. That's why Enzo became champ. But hopefully now I hear Triple H is apparently back into the fold of closely monitoring 205 Live. So hopefully he can get back to good and they can stop mucking around with whatever.
I think
the hijinks that they used to. I think so too, but they're not going to. They're too proud to do that. They're going to take another year or two before they decide to pull the plug until it's long overdue.
They're not scrapping 205 anytime soon.
We will get women's tag team titles before they decide to pull the plug on 205.
Hey, here's the deal. This isn't a secret.
That would work.
Women's tag titles are coming for SummerSlam.
No, I know. And listen, by the way, and I know you guys don't know this because this is way, way back, but when I first started doing blog entries for WrestlingNewsPro.com, one of them I had, and I got to look it up, and I'll put it on Twitter so everybody can see it. I did 5 things that the women's division should do, and 3 of the 5 I said was one of them was a women's Hell in a Cell, that's done. Another one was a women's Royal Rumble, that's done. Then I did women's tag team championships, and that's on the horizon. And yeah, I know that's a thing. That's not something. That's not a pipe dream. That's actually something that's legitimately on the table.
Yep.
By the way, speaking of belts, switching gears just very quickly, this NXT North American title. Oh my God, who made that?
It looks old school though.
It looks horrible.
I'm down. No. I'm down with it. No. All right.
It reminds me. It reminds me of the old tag titles that Daniel Bryan and Kane held.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll buy that.
All right. So, what match do you want to start with here?
You want to just shoot what we had in the predictions? I think the SmackDown tag
titles. Okay.
Yes. SmackDown tag team title matches first. So,
I'll say Anthony. I would say Bludgeon Brothers have been your boys here since the beginning.
Absolutely. I think they're going to take it. I think they're going to I don't know if they're going to dominate through the match, but I think they're going to ultimately win. The New Day, I feel like they're last year's news, and the Usos, they're mid-carders. I just don't like them carrying the title.
No way.
I don't like them carrying the title. I think the Bludgeon Brothers are going to take it, and it's going to open the door for those NXT guys.
The Authors of Pain?
Yes, to come up.
Yes.
That's the next feud. That's the next feud I want to see.
There's 2 things about that. I'm all fine and good with the Bludgeon Brothers winning. If that turns out, that's not my prediction. But if it turns out to be the case, so be it. But the Usos, by no stretch, are mid-card guys. They are probably one of the best tag teams in the company right now, to be honest with you. I mean...
And that says a lot about the division.
It does. But I think ultimately, whichever one of these teams doesn't win, the Usos or New Day, I think the team that loses is going to go to Raw in a superstar shakeup. They got to move some of these tag teams around. And yeah, the Authors of Pain are on the horizon. My prediction is going to be that the Usos are going to keep the belts here. New Day, I think their next stop is breakup. I mean, if you guys listen to Sam Roberts' podcast, he basically summed it up. He said, the New Day's done it all. They've, they've had T-shirts, they've had cereal, they've done this, they've thrown pancakes into the crowd, they've done everything. They've hosted WrestleMania. Like, what more is there to do for them? They are running their course truly. And Anthony, you just said that. I mean, they're running their course. I just I'm going to go with the Usos here. So that's my spot. But I mean, the Bludgeon Brothers, I'm cool with them. I just wish they'd get some new ring gear because I find their ring gear to be as ugly as Dan thinks the North American Championship is. But
they're the favorites in the odd column.
Here's the thing, and this is essentially what I wrote. If you want to go with logic and the way this has been built up, then it's all set up for the Bludgeon Brothers to win this match. However, as we know with WWE Creative, very rarely does logic play any part in this. So me and Mike agree in that we think the Usos are going to win. We're all in agreement here that the New Day has kind of run their course. There's no reason to give them the titles and go on another run. They're basically out of the equation. And as much as I think the Usos are going to go to Raw whenever this shakeup happens, I don't think this shakeup is going to be in the next couple of weeks. So it doesn't hurt them to have the Usos retain and then have an Uso Bludgeon Brother feud here for a little bit. The triple threat match is the reason why I don't think Bludgeon Brothers win. If this was a straight one-on-one tag match, I tend to go that way, but the triple threat makes me lean to the title staying home.
So there you go. And for what it's worth, our ATL Mike, who is not here because he doesn't have the proper recording equipment, he says that the New Day wins. So just take that for what it's worth. So, which, by the way, really quickly before we get on to the next stuff, we're going to be doing these predictions just like this each and every pay-per-view, especially now that they've decided to get away with the dual branding, which is, I think, is a good move, I guess.
Thank God.
But we're going to be coming at you with these predictions each and every month, and we're going to keep a tally of records as far as who's right and who's wrong. So this way, the guys here, we're really actually thinking about what we're picking here. We're not just throwing what against the wall and seeing if it sticks.
And we need to figure out something for like the winner and the worst person. We got to put some incentive into this.
Well, you know what we do in my fantasy football league, which, by the way, Anthony, shameless plug, check out the FF Face Off podcast. But in my main fantasy football league, the 10th place guy in my league, last place, I have the Divas belt. The Divas belt with the butterfly, and they get that Divas belt, and they get to walk around with that for a year. So maybe we could try and find another one of those butterfly belts and give that to the worst guy.
There you go.
Let him podcast with that around his neck. So
I could, yeah. I was saying it would look wonderful on Anthony.
I'm all down for it. I'm all down for the wagers.
There you go. Right. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
All right, let's move on to the Raw side of things with that. So we have the Bar and then Braun and Mystery Partner. Now, listen, when I wrote this prediction, that was before this whole picture tweet thing came out. So I don't want everybody hopping on my bandwagon now if I'm right with who Braun's partner is.
Mm-hmm. I thought of you right away when I saw it. That's why I sent it to you right away.
Like all of a sudden the picture comes out and everybody's like, oh, now it makes all this. I wrote that 2 days beforehand. So yeah, I'm a little upset.
I published that article yesterday, which was Wednesday, but let it be known, Dan had that done on Monday. So Dan had that done before anybody was taking a flight to New Orleans to get ready for WrestleMania. So don't think that he saw the picture and then typed fast. He had that call already.
Okay, so anyway, if you don't pay attention, okay, what we're referencing is that Braun tweeted a picture of him and Bray on a flight to New Orleans. And I was saying, we've gone through all these guys. We've talked about Rey Mysterio. We've talked about Big Cass. We've talked about Kane. We've talked about Big Show, whoever. And I'm saying that right now, Bray, who, got deleted, went into the Lake of Reincarnation, and really has no place, if you want to kind of restart him, this makes perfect sense. Put him with Braun. It actually makes sense. They have history, and it could at least get him going a little bit. I don't think it changes the outcome of this match, but at least from a partner standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. I mean, I'm going to go. I have a feeling I'm going to be wrong with this prediction, but I'm going to go with Braun and his mystery partner to win the belts. I have a feeling I could be wrong, but whatever. I'm going to stick with what I said. I think the prediction, I think his partner is going to be one of the obvious ones. I think it's going to be Big Show, or it's going to be, God, I hope it's not Rey Mysterio, but I just think they're going to give. I think your idea of Bray Wyatt is a fantastic idea, and I think it would work. And you kind of say this about other things with WWE. I think that's the exact reason why they won't do it.
Probably
because it makes perfect sense to do it, because it would be fantastic to do. So, my heart screams for a Neville return, even though I know it's not going to happen. My more logical side will hope for Big Cass, but either way, I think we're getting Big Show here, and I think they're going to win the belts. So that's my prediction. I don't think it's going to be that great of a match, to be honest with you. It's going to be an awkward brawl, pretty much, is what I would describe the Raw Tag Team Championship being. And with this stacked card, it might be one of the worst matches on the entire card. So, what says you, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this match. I think they're going to keep Braun Strowman solo, as I said in the article, and he's going to go and win. And the following night on Raw, I think, is when he gets his partner. You know, we're going to get the whole Sheamus and Cesaro. They're going to complain to the general manager, and they're going to force Braun to get a partner or relinquish the title. I think, and they bring in somebody like a Big Cass. Because Big Cass, I don't believe in Big Cass being a singles competitor. I think he's one of those, he needs to get over in a tag team again. He needs to get reintroduced to the crowd, and what better way? And going on a run with Braun Strowman and eventually breaking those two up, and that sets up a feud right there. And by that time, if Big Cass will be getting over at the same time, I think that's a hell of a direction they can go to with this.
All right. Well, I'm not on your Big Cass train. I like your idea, and I even wrote kind of the same thing, that here we have Braun, who has gone against the rules in everything. That's all we ever see is Braun is told, right, you can't do this, and there he goes and doing that. And you don't do this, and he goes and does that. Right. So now he's being told you got to have a partner. So why would he listen now? Problem is again, creative doesn't think the logical way, so he will have a partner. But much like on the SmackDown side, I'm the same on the Raw side. I don't see them changing the titles. Braun is too valuable a singles guy. They didn't have a spot for him on this card, so they kind of tossed him in this. If they had stuck with the original plan of him versus Kane in a casket match, I think it would have went over way better than this does. So I don't see them just tossing a title on Braun for the sake of tossing a title. They could transition after this for him to get involved in a better storyline and for a singles title as opposed to this.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say in closing about this match, and it's why I kind of, even though I know I already made a prediction that he'll win, the only reason why I'm worried that I'll be wrong, well, not worried, I don't really care, but the reason why I think I might be wrong is because you've noticed this a lot, and this could be a spoiler alert, but with, as far as my predictions, but with Braun Strowman, it's almost like Nia Jax, where you let them run around, be dominant, throw people around like a rag doll, and then when it gets to the exact moment where they're supposed to come through and win a big match or win a title, they come up short. That's been the theme since the days of Braun Strowman tipping over ambulances, and I was there that night when he did. He tips over ambulances, flips trucks. God knows what else he does. He pushes dumpsters off of the ramp, whatever. But when it matters, he doesn't win the belt. So that's why I think I might be wrong there. I think I wonder when he's going to be able to break through that glass ceiling. And Dan, it's like you said, he should be doing more things other than the tag team division. But I just wonder when they're going to actually let him get his hands on that title. But whatever, we'll see what happens.
More important note here, I'm the only one to pick the bar.
Yes, you are.
So let's go bar.
There you go. Let's go bar.
All right.
Fair enough.
Let's go to the U.S. Championship Fatal 4-Way match. Now, here is an interesting tidbit here before we get into the predictions. Remember, Rusev was added just a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of people think he was added because Rusev Day is really taken off. Vince loves making money. Let's put the moneymaker in there. That is incorrect. Here is the reason Rusev was put in this match. Because just the week previous, Rusev went to Vince McMahon and asked for his release.
Yep.
because he was not happy with his direction. That's why Rusev is in this match.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a lot. I hate hearing stuff like that about guys I really like, and Rusev's a guy I like. That's not company news to hear.
Well, you think about it. I mean, Rusev, he had that long feud with Cena, and then what has he done? He's been kind of just mid-card this entire time.
But
he
now
never
he's
really
catching fire.
Yeah, but I don't think his catching fire is going to translate. I think this is kind of to appease him for the short term and then put him in a storyline afterwards. I don't like him to win this match.
Rusev Day. No, I don't like him to win this match at all, but Rusev Day is over, right? Is it as much over as the New Day was when they started? Could this be like another New Day type of deal?
It could get to that point, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that's where I kind of see this going, to where they're kind of like the Yes movement, where let's run with this.
I love it, man. I do love it. I don't think he wins this match. I'm gonna go with, and I said this in my article. This is a rare What, Anthony? What's that? What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say how talented and underrated is Aiden English?
I love it.
I mean, he comes from the Broadway background, and they are using it to an advantage right now, and I absolutely love it.
No, it's fantastic. But I mean, I said it in the article. I mean, this is a rare circumstance in which you have a fatal four-way with three of the guys within that match. They're all faces by definition. I mean, Rusev, I guess, is supposed to be a heel, but the fans love him too much. He's too over right now to be a heel, I suppose. But I think this is the perfect opportunity for Vince McMahon to piss everybody off. And listen, we all know Vince loves to piss the fans off. He loves it. And I think this is going to be a Jinder Mahal victory, because I tell you right now, Vince McMahon already has the visions in his head of a United States Championship celebration on SmackDown Live with Jinder Mahal, if I'm being insensitive, with the rug laid out and everything's all ready to go, all the pomp and circumstance, just like when he won the belt after he beat Randy Orton and shocked everybody. I think Jinder's going to win here for sure. I don't think. The only reason why I think Randy has the United States Championship is just to add some oomph to the fact that it's on the WrestleMania card. I don't expect him to hold that title for a significant period of time. So if it's not going to be Jinder, maybe it's Bobby Roode, but I'm putting my money on Jinder.
Yeah, I'm all over Jinder Mahal too, especially with the Great Rumble at the end of the month.
Right.
Why not go into the Middle East, a native Middle Eastern, and with the United States title? I think it's a smart move from a marketing standpoint, and I just don't see Rusev taking it. I don't see Randy Orton retaining it. What's the point? They need to get somebody else over, and they just had Bobby Roode lose it. I don't see him getting it back right now, so I feel like it all makes sense for Jinder Mahal to take this. And I also see this as an opportunity to bring Samoa Joe back and possibly feud with a guy like Rusev.
All right, Joe's on Raw, so that's not going to work.
Why not do a brand switch?
Man,
it's that, like I said off air, it's that time of the year.
Okay, I think, but before Dan makes his prediction, I'm sorry to interrupt Dan, but I did write in my Superstar Shakeup predictions, whether it was Samoa Joe going to SmackDown or whether it was Rusev going to Raw. I think it was Rusev going to Raw. I did say, though, that the first guy that Rusev should feud with should be Samoa Joe. I think that battle could be a severely underrated match, and they could put on a freaking show. But with that said,
Joe is getting Reigns.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, oh man, I love Samoa Joe though. The only thing I hope, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, Dan. Are you worried he's going to be kind of injury prone here? This is kind of the second injury that he's dealt with since he's been up here on the main roster. And listen, I don't like to say it just as much as you probably don't want to hear it, because I love Samoa Joe. But is there that concern creeping in the back of your mind that he could be one of those guys that if he gets hurt too much, he's not going to get the push that he wants or that he deserves?
You know what? I hadn't really thought of it that way, but now you bring it up, it's possible. I looked at it the other way, as in, even though he's been involved in these storylines, first with Seth and then with Roman for a little bit, and all of that, he's always been the other guy. He's never been involved in it because he's getting the push to elevate him to that spot. He's always just been there as, here's the heel, he can make this work. That's my concern right now. If he gets another injury, then I would put your thought even more in front. My concern is that he's always going to be that other guy, and that I'm concerned he's never going to get put on that level that you and I think he should be on.
But doesn't that make sense to switch him to SmackDown so he can be that guy? Because Raw, there's an influx of main eventers on Raw. Why not move him to SmackDown?
But is he really going to get? But is he going to get over on Shinsuke?
Is he going to get over on anyone on Raw though? He has a better
nobody's
shot.
getting over on Roman anytime soon.
I just feel like there's too much talent on the Raw side. I feel like that's the dominant brand and dominant in talent.
All right, getting back to the prediction, what you guys said is far from glorious. Let me just put that out there, because Jinder had his run, and they could have strung it out even longer if they wanted to, and they didn't, because it wasn't translating. I get what you're saying about the Great Rumble and how he could put the title, but here's what doesn't make sense to me. They gave it to Orton as a placeholder. He gets to complete this, Grand Slam championship. Rusev's in there to placate the fans. You can put it back on Rude and still have Jinder fight for the title at the Great Rumble. He doesn't have to have it. It didn't make sense for Rude to lose it in the first place. Very easy to put it back on and then create a singles feud from here. I hate these triple threats and fatal four-ways and all that. It's just a smorgasbord of trying to get as much talent on the card as possible, and all it does is kind of take away from guys. I could totally see Rude versus Jinder at Great Rumble, but I'm putting my money on Rude getting it back as opposed to Jinder walking out with it.
Do you like, and that's fine, that's all well and good, but do you like Bobby Roode as a face, or don't you think it's kind of, maybe I'm just too much of a heel guy? I know Anthony's a heel guy as well. I'm not sure what your stance is. But do you want Bobby Roode as a heel, or are you cool with keeping him as a face?
He should be a heel.
Yep.
He works better as a heel.
Yep, we're all in agreement there.
I was going to say, I think what happened is when he came up, he was so over that he just naturally went to a face. It wouldn't surprise me if he turned heel at some point.
That's the only and that's by the way, was again, and we'll move on to the next match. I don't think that Orton keeps the title here, but I think if he does, it tells us one thing. It tells us that the Bobby Roode and Orton feud will continue, and then that's when we will hopefully, I hope, we will see a Orton heel turn. That's the only way in which I think it's a reasonable thing that Orton retains the title, is just to further a feud with Bobby Roode. But I still hope it doesn't happen. But
I'm pretty sure Orton's going on hiatus after this. More reason why he's not retaining.
Certain guys are just better as heels. Miz, Orton, you could throw Rude into that.
Oh God, Miz is an awful face. I love him as a heel. I love him more than anybody. I loved the Miz when it wasn't cool to like him, but whatever.
The only time I ever liked Randy Orton as a heel is when as a face, when they turn him just so he can screw somebody over. Like he's just they're just that type of characters. Like I couldn't stand Jake the Snake Roberts as a face.
Oh, okay, as a face, yeah, sure, okay. I thought you.
No.
All
right. What's next on our predictions, Dan?
Let's go Raw's women title. Alexa and Nia.
Okay, I'll take this one. Yeah. Listen, Alexa Bliss is one. If you want a way to get into my wrestling heart, you need to be as much like an old school heel as humanly possible. I think Alexa Bliss fits that bill on the microphone, the way she weasels her way to victories sometimes. she's on another level compared to the other women as far as being a heel. She's undoubtedly the best heel in the company. I like Nia Jax. I think she's a force. I think she's a big girl. She does great things in the ring for her size. But it's like I said with Braun Strowman, they get to this point, both of them, where they dominate. And when it comes to the point where they need to come through, they fall just short. I mean, the fact that Nia Jax was able to get this match after losing number one contender matches, Royal Rumbles, so on and so forth, all these matches, losing to Asuka, and she still finds her way into the title match. It's just, Dan, I think you said this. I'm not sure if you said this in the article or if you said this off air, but it's just kind of poor by creative to put her in this match. It doesn't really make any sense. But I think Alexa Bliss keeps the belt here. Absolutely. I just think she's better right now for the business. I think she can produce more for the company as a champion than Nia Jax can. So that's my take on that.
I think they have to keep selling Nia Jax here as a monster. You seen her reaction that night on Raw where she tore everything apart. Almost sounded she was like a pissed off dinosaur with her screeches. You have to keep pushing her as this dominant force, almost like a Braun Strowman push on a women's end. If you're ever going to put the title on her, otherwise she's just going to be like her sister. And just, an enforcer type. As far as Alexa Bliss, I think she's going to win this match, but like you said, she's an old school heel, and she's going to have the help from the outside. I think that's going to culminate in a feud between Mickie James eventually.
You guys are right that Nia needs to be booked like Braun, and that's been my biggest issue is that they've refused to do it. Mike, you were right in that I wrote about how there were losses leading up to it, but I was actually going the other way, saying how Alexa's been put in these matches over the last few weeks with Asuka and how she's lost, and I think that might be pointing to something. But here's the way I'm looking at it. I'm the only one that went with Nia in this, and that I don't see the point. Like, the Raw top spot is on borrowed time now. And here's how I kind of see it playing out. Alexa and Mickie aren't splitting anytime soon. I think they stay as a duo, and as we've talked about at the beginning, with the tag titles coming into play, I think they could be at the top spot at taking the tag titles. I see Nia getting the belt, being a placeholder for the time being, Charlotte coming over from SmackDown, reclaiming the Raw title until Ronda is ready. And that way you could have Ronda, much like Asuka is about to do, get over on Charlotte, and then leading to a Ronda-Asuka match. Again, that makes a whole lot of sense, and I'm putting a whole lot on creative there, but that's at least my long-term view of this.
All right. There you go. All right. So what's the next match then?
Let's see what we got. Next match. It's your boy, The Miz, in the triple threat with Finn and Seth.
All right. Well, you know what? When this match was first made, I thought for sure Miz is going to retain, just because they've been all about promoting that he's one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time, and really he is. And I think when it's all said and done, by the time he retires, whenever that is, he's going to go down as being the best Intercontinental champion of all time. That being said, I'm going to weigh something into the whole idea that he just had a child. Tends to be the case where superstars tend to want to take off some time when they have a child. Makes sense. I don't judge them for it. But so if that's the case, I'm going to go with Finn Balor here. Now, the only reason why I'm going with Finn Balor here, and I have some trepidation in making that pick because McMahon seems to have some trouble in backing Finn since Finn's return from injury. I think that my prediction is that Seth Rollins is going to ultimately end up going to SmackDown in a superstar shakeup. That's the only reason why I'm making this call. Seth Rollins has been lighting the world on fire as of late. I'd still give it to Finn Balor here to win, but not only would I not be surprised if I lose this prediction because The Miz retains, I will actually be happy because I like The Miz, like I said earlier. back in WrestleMania 27, when everybody was pissed off that he was champion and that he was main eventing WrestleMania, I was like one of very few people that was pumped about it. And I rubbed it in everyone's face. So, but that being said, I would love if Miz wins, but I personally think with the kid now, which again, I think he's going to take some time off. Maybe, and like I'm talking time off, I'm talking like 2 weeks. And then he comes back to reclaim his Intercontinental Championship from whoever won it. So, not sure what you guys think.
I could see the Miz retaining this belt. We don't know what's going on with Brock Lesnar. And, if he's going to leave the company, if he's going on hiatus, like many feel like he is, that's going to open up, a need for main eventers. And that's where I can see Seth Rollins and Finn Balor going after WrestleMania. I think they're going to be competing against, the likes of Roman Reigns for the Universal title instead of competing for the Intercontinental belts. So I could see The Miz somehow retaining this and seeing those two move on after WrestleMania.
All right, Dan, what about you? What do you think?
I'm all over Seth. But
you're the only guy, right? You're the only guy on the site.
Yeah, I'm the only one that went. I'm the only one that went with Seth.
Okay.
There's a few matches.
That could be a good steal for you. It could be a good steal.
I was gonna say there's like 3 or 4 matches in these predictions that I'm on out on a limb. So I'm either gonna be way ahead of you guys or I'm gonna be looking at a Diva title around my neck. But yeah, I like Seth. Like you said, Finn just doesn't get pushed, and to me, he's always felt like the third wheel in this whole story. Like Seth would do something, and then all of a sudden Finn was like, "Hey, look, I can do it too." Like he's always felt like that third wheel. So, and yeah, like you said, Vince has just had an issue with putting him. It makes more sense to me to have him lose this, and then all of a sudden get involved in trying to reclaim that Universal Championship that he's never even had a shot at since coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, yeah. Miz, I don't see him reclaiming, like you said, had the kid. You think he'd want to take some time off to be with his newborn, and also, he's coming up real close to that longest reigning IC title, over Honky Tonk Man, and I don't think they let him get over that hump. So I'll go with Seth. They know what they get with Seth with a belt, and also Seth with a belt. Whenever Dean comes back, whether that's soon or later, we don't know exactly what that is. It's a built-in feud for a title.
Now, I want to ask you guys one more question before we go on to the next match. But Anthony, I'm sorry. Wait, what was your prediction? Who would you ultimately go with?
The Miz retains.
The Miz retains. Okay. All right, guys. All right. So we have one guy on one each end here. The one thing I want to ask you guys is, now that Brock Lesnar is obviously going to be out of the fold here, Dana White let the cat out of the bag in case we all didn't know anyway. All right, so The Miz has been on an absolute tear since the day after WrestleMania 32. He has been on an absolute tear. His promos have been off the charts. His in-ring work has gotten better and better, I feel like, while he's still not, he's not a Seth Rollins. He never will be, and that's fine. But he's produced better in the ring. He puts together great programs. It doesn't matter who he's paired with. It's a good story. It's one of the better stories on Raw. Do you think it's time for The Miz to get back to that top title? I mentioned he was the champion of WrestleMania 27. Maybe that was too early for him, honestly, even though I loved it. Now it seems like he's peaking as far as his ability to get a crowd's attention. Do you think now is a good time to start to put The Miz in that Universal title picture? Yes or no?
I absolutely love what you just said about them putting the belt on The Miz too early. It was an era where I felt like they put the belt on everybody to see who can take it. It was Jack Swagger and Ziggler. It seemed like they were just changing hands. The belt was changing hands too much. But yeah, The Miz since then has evolved and has become, so great at his character, and he's a mainstay on the roster. Why not let's see him take that next step? let's see how he handles the title run again with the Universal title. I absolutely love it.
Dan, what says you?
I'm not opposed to the idea. The problem is that the execution isn't there. We've seen too many guys that I would think ahead of him beat him. We saw Finn beat him. Braun destroys him. Things like that. So how does Miz get over them would be my issue.
Okay.
Unless we're going to have a gender situation in which Mr. Raj just helps him carry a belt for months.
No. I don't think they help him win it, but yeah, I think of course they help him retain it. I mean, that's just a part of what those guys do. That's I mean, that's part of their shtick is that they help the Miz get out of bad situations, which would be what the Miz would do since he'd be a heel. But whatever, we'll see what happens. But what's next on our predictions?
Charlotte versus Asuka. Here
we go. All right. Now I'll go first here because mine's probably the most controversial of all the picks, but Dan started. Dan had said in a group chat, and see, I was wondering, we've heard some reports of Carmella potentially cashing in at WrestleMania, regardless of, who's beating who. Then Dan brought up an interesting report that he saw about there was advertisements for the Raw after Mania or SmackDown after Mania. And it was Carmella and Charlotte, right? Fighting for the title?
Yeah, for the title.
And
Asuka was still on Raw.
Right. Asuka was advertised for Raw. So I decided to take that and say, you know what? Maybe what happens here, because I still think that Vince McMahon wants to keep Asuka as not being beaten yet. So the way out here, while the match is going on, you get Carmella to run down. She cashes in. Now, she starts to get her ass kicked immediately. She's doing that yapping thing in the ring as she's getting beat up by Asuka. All of a sudden, Charlotte's busy with Asuka, and Carmella gets a cheap roll-up pin and gets a 1-2-3. Now, this helps you in the sense that Asuka technically is never pinned. So, while, yes, she loses a match that becomes a triple threat match, she's never been pinned. So, you can still bill her as no one's been able to pin Asuka yet. So, no one's still ready for her because no one's pinned her yet. So you could still do that. I think it opens it up to that. And I think ultimately what they're going to build up to, which I think this came up in the predictions a couple of times. So maybe you guys are of the same mindset. I'm not sure. But ultimately, Asuka's going to fight Ronda Rousey. As long as Ronda doesn't, continue to shit the bed. Sorry for the language. But and I think that's
as long as she doesn't look like somebody toy after she went to the table.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I think ultimately that matchup can come at WrestleMania 35, and we could see a Ronda Rousey who hasn't been defeated and an Asuka who hasn't been pinned, so therefore hasn't technically been defeated, I guess. And you can get that match at WrestleMania 35. So I'm going to go with Carmella here with the surprise cash-in. There's going to be a big surprise somewhere here at WrestleMania. Going to be a big surprise somewhere. I know it's going to be really surprised if the Undertaker comes down. It's not a big surprise. We just said we're all expecting it. Got to be a big surprise. I'm going to go with Carmella, and I'll probably lose one in the win-loss column in our predictions, but whatever. Anthony, what's his you?
I can see Asuka coming out on top. I can see Asuka obviously winning and remaining on SmackDown. And yes, I agree. I think Carmella tries to cash in. And like I said in the article, I think she is unsuccessful. And we'll talk about this later with the Nakamura match. I think there's a good chance that we're going to see two Japanese champions on SmackDown at the end of the night. I think it's going to set up a future run against Charlotte Flair and Asuka working on SmackDown because, yes, I get it. The ultimate main event for next year's WrestleMania is Asuka and Ronda Rousey. But we don't know what Ronda Rousey is yet. So this is an opportunity to put Asuka in a situation, in a program with Charlotte Flair. And you're going to have a really good draw from that. And it's going to give Ronda Rousey an opportunity to build herself up on Raw.
Now, Anthony, I just want to clarify. When you say Carmella cashes in unsuccessfully, do you mean she actually cashes in and fails, or it's another botch?
Oh, no, I think she cashes in and fails.
Okay, so and me are
I think Asuka goes 2-0 at WrestleMania.
Okay, so you and me are on the same page here. Carmella's going to cash in. I think what's going to happen is Asuka is going to beat Charlotte. Carmella will cash in immediately following that, and then will quickly be defeated by Asuka. Plain, simple, clean. Asuka wins 2-0, and voila, it's done. I was saying there's not really much to put in there. Mike, here's the problem with your theory.
Sure.
If they were going to go that route, then why, especially with the mixed match challenge on Tuesday night, why did they keep stressing that, her undefeated streak was close to being gone every time Miz was on, was close to losing? They always brought that up. That was that was the one thing I wrote, that they drive me nuts. If for some reason you're under a rock and you don't know that Asuka's undefeated, you'll know with every 5 minutes because they'll bring it up. You'll hear that 10 times during this match.
I understand that, and I get that, and it's a very valid point. But if WWE does anything great, it's that they will say thing one week, and the next week they'll be very quick to sweep it under the rug, like as if it's never happened.
Oh,
they just won't mention it anymore. So they could go that route. Now, by the way, in closing, before we get to the next match, shameless plug for me. I am currently working on the top 10 WrestleMania main events, which actually was a top 10 that Dan put together. I didn't really disagree with it at all. So that's I went ahead and I started typing it up. So that should hopefully be out to you guys tomorrow. After that, though, I am working on, speaking of Money in the Bank, I am working on my prediction piece for the next winner of the Money in the Bank. Last year, 2 months prior to him winning, I called it that Baron Corbin would win Money in the Bank. I know who's going to win Money in the Bank this year. And if you want to know, you're just going to have to wait till I type it up and go to the website. That's how I get clicks. No other way to do it. So
yes. So again, once Mike puts up that main event piece, any hate you have, you can send my way. Don't send it to Mike's. But
100%.
real quickly before we go to the next match, we did top 10 main events, but on USA Tonight, they're doing top WrestleMania moments in general.
Oh, where?
On USA at 8:00. They're doing top WrestleMania moments. So, we don't have to make a list here, but just off the top of your head, what is your top WrestleMania moment?
Oh, boy.
Every Triple H entrance. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
For fuck's sake. Oh, man, I need a minute here.
How bad is that entrance going to be this year? Can't be any worse than that Terminator thing.
They've gone here. Triple H hasn't had a good entrance since against Bryan.
I got my WrestleMania moment.
All right, what do you got?
Moment. I have when Shawn Michaels looks at Ric Flair and says, "I'm sorry, I love you," and delivers a super kick. That's mine. That hits me in the
Yeah. Yep.
That's mine from me. If I'm answering within a minute and a half of you asking me the question, that's my answer. You guys got anything else, or
Hogan Warrior? Hogan Warrior, or
Dan's reaction,
or Hogan body slamming Andre.
well, that's the thing. Okay,
come on.
So, like WrestleMania moment, the first thing everybody thinks of is the body slam. Like, there's no way. That's why. Spoiler alert, number one on our main event thing is Andre and Hogan, because there's no WrestleMania without Andre Hogan.
That's right.
So that's that. But here's the one I'll go with, and it's bugging me that I can't remember the other person. Mike, you'll have to either remember for me or look it up real quick.
You got it.
It's WrestleMania, 7 or 8, I want to say. Macho Man has the retirement match.
Ultimate Warrior.
7, right?
Yes. There we go. That's why it's there. That is my WrestleMania because I was a huge Warrior guy as a kid, and I also loved the Macho Man. And seeing them both, with the chance of leaving, like as a little kid, being however old I was at that time, 10, 11. Yeah, like you can't do that to a child. It was just, it was not fair.
I love it. That era was amazing to me.
The big debate we can save for another show, because then we'll get on with the rest of our predictions. But I want you guys to marinate on this. If you have a quick, not long-winded answer, whatever. What do you think was a better match? Do you think the retirement match between Savage and Warrior, or do you think their SummerSlam 92? Or am I just being a complete nerd and I know those matches too much inside and out?
I like the retirement match better.
Me too. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, there you go. Moving on.
Solve that one. All right. Let's let Anthony do his tirade. Triple H and Steph versus Ronda and Kurt.
I'm going to go get a beer.
Go ahead, Anthony. The floor is yours.
You know, obviously I'm a big Triple H fan. I can't wait to see this match. I might be the minority here. On the Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle end, I think we're going to see a change on the Raw side. I think Kurt's time as general manager could be coming up. I think it could end by SummerSlam. How I see this match going, I actually see Ronda Rousey turning heel. And I know everybody shakes their heads and think it's out of the ordinary. If Brock Lesnar leaves, it leaves Paul Heyman wide open to scoop up Ronda Rousey. Why not have her turn on Kurt Angle? Because they're all kind of, they seem buddy-buddy right now. It's the perfect screw job. It's the perfect way to introduce Ronda Rousey to the wrestling world. And I can see, Triple H and Steph winning with the help of Ronda Rousey as she turns on Angle. Now, come on, go all over. I know you're going to be all over me on this, but expect the unexpected.
All right. Well, Mike gets readjusted. I'll hop in on this. Okay.
Sure.
So that plays into Mike's whole theory that there's going to be some big surprise. But for the love of God, stop with the conspiracy theories. Ronda is not turning heel, and Ronda is not joining up with the Authority. She doesn't need to be heel for Heyman to team up with her.
Why not?
She does. Why does she have to be heel?
Because Heyman's your classic heel manager.
Well,
she doesn't have to be.
Just to interject quick, I think you're both right in the sense of saying Ronda would have to be heel for her to be with Heyman. But at the same time, Dan's saying she doesn't have to be. So I'm kind of agreeing with both of you here. She could pair up with Heyman, and it could still be that awkward transition where she wants to pair herself with Heyman because Heyman sees her as a talent, but yet she's still a face right now. But over the course of maybe a couple of weeks on Raw, maybe you see her slowly start to turn. Maybe as Heyman gets in her head, she slowly starts to turn heel, and then you have your heel Ronda. But whatever.
And that's the biggest thing is that, and I put that, of all the questions that go into this match about who wins, what happens, how does it unfold, blah, 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 the biggest thing I have is Ronda, and not Ronda in the ring, because they will do enough. They'll highlight what she's good at. They'll protect her at what she's not good at, and they'll make this match work. I want to see how she sells, the art of the match, because go back to Monday night. Steph puts her through the table. Anybody else goes through the table, they look like they've just been killed, and they lay there like a dead fish. Ronda sits there, holds her stomach, and looks up at her like she just took the last piece of cake. Ronda's got to learn. And that's why she can't be a heel yet, because you've got to be able to sell it, and she can't sell it yet.
Paul Heyman can sell it.
Yeah, but Ronda's not Brock. Ronda can still talk. She's not good at it yet, but she still speaks. She's not. Heyman would be the mouthpiece, but he wouldn't be the 100% mouthpiece that he is for Brock for her. She's got to. My biggest question is, how does she get this match over? Can she put the smiles away, come down, look like this is a UFC match, and get through it and sell me that this was a match, she had some vengeance in her, and she went out and she went for a kill? That's what I care about. But as far as the outcome, she's winning. She's not here to lose, and I don't see any grand turn coming anytime soon.
As much as I want to see Ronda as a heel, and I don't think we get a heel turn here, but I would love to see that, Anthony. But, and I would also love to see, Dan, you talk about how you want to see the, Ronda Rousey who walks down to the ring with a purpose. Like she's going to rip someone's arm off, like the UFC. She's pissed off. But what I think is maybe not so much Vince McMahon, but Triple H is thinking, because Triple H is smarter than people give him credit for. Anthony, I'm sure you'll love to hear that. But I think the whole thing that if you're gonna have her walk down and be that badass and that take no prisoners, I'm gonna rip off your mother effing arm. I think you want to save that for when she's a heel, because if you get folks to buy into that when she's a good guy, what's her selling point when she's like if they're gonna buy into that when she's a face? What's your selling point when she's a heel? What, like she's going to do the exact same thing? It's almost like a Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes out, he does the dance, makes everybody sing along. Now that he's a heel, he almost mocks them while he comes out to the ring. I see you waving your finger, Dan.
Yeah, here's my interjection. Okay, and we've brought this up. Okay, they have it in their head that they want this Steph Ronda thing to be Stone Cold and Vince. Stone Cold was, a heel face, however you want to look at it. But he always came down with a purpose.
The anti-hero. Yes,
and he can. Yeah. Ronda could be that same thing. Here's what I would like them to do. I'm not saying they would do. They will do this. Here's what I'd like them to do. If you want Ronda to feel comfortable and to come down, at least sell the idea that this is, she's got a purpose. Give her the UFC look. Put her in the hoodie. Let her come down as if she was coming down in a UFC entrance. Angle comes down in back in the day, Angle came down with the hoodie anyway. They could both come down in the hood, like the jacket hood things, come down with a purpose. Yep. It makes it easier for the easier transition for Ronda.
Right. All right, that's fine. But all that being said, I think this is I said in my predictions, I think that, and it's almost like Dan said, like they're going to highlight what Ronda can do well. They're going to hide what she doesn't do well. And the glue that holds this match together, she's lucky that she's in there with two people like Triple H and Kurt Angle. The goal of this match also, not so much for Ronda, was to get Stephanie McMahon over as being a household name. To sort of, and like Dan was saying, get to that point where you have that sort of Stone Cold Vince McMahon feud. You have that with Ronda and Stephanie. The goal was to get more people at home to know, oh, that's Stephanie McMahon, and not just, oh, that's Vince McMahon's daughter. So I think they will try and further that, but Kurt Angle and Triple H will hold this match together. They will help keep it afloat, and ultimately Ronda will come in at the last minute, slap a submission hold on Stephanie McMahon. And I don't, especially considering the way Ronda's wrestling career has started, her professional wrestling career, I should say, and I'm almost getting annoyed at the people ripping her, even though I get it. I want her to do well, but she can't, after how she's come out of the gates here, between the ESPN interview, between the falling through the table and looking like she ate some bad fish, you can't have her lose at her first pay-per-view against Stephanie McMahon. It just doesn't. You're stunting her growth.
By the way, remember
immediately.
Remember, the armbar is not her finisher.
Well, it ought to be, and I think you've said that too. So, but whatever.
Hey, real quick tidbit about this match. Well, it's a question and a tidbit. Obviously, we know the original idea was to try and have The Rock come back and pick up the storyline from WrestleMania 31. That didn't happen.
Right.
Kurt, here's the two-part question. Here's the first question before I finish with my thought. We've seen Kurt twice now since he came back. Neither time he looked, and this is more for you, Mike, because I know Anthony just hates Kurt, and he's not gonna say anything positive here. But he was hurt. He was hurt with the Shield match, and then the Survivor Series match. He didn't look great. He's had time. He said he's trained. Do we see more of the Kurt we remember in this match?
No, only because it's a mixed tag match. I don't think we're going to get to see the Kurt that we know and love until we get him in a singles match, until we get him in a match where he's not protected. Even if he doesn't need to be protected, he's protected. He's in that match with the Shield. He's protected. He may not need it, but he is. Survivor Series, same thing. This mixed tag, again, while him and Triple H will be the glue that holds the match together, it's not about him. If we get a match, which I had predicted a year ago that we get at this year's WrestleMania, I predicted Triple H versus Kurt Angle, which was an obvious play. I'm not some kind of genius, but for example, I think the next time we see Kurt Angle wrestle probably would be at SummerSlam. If we can get a one-on-one with Kurt Angle and probably Triple H, more than likely, unless somebody oversteps their grounds on Raw and Angle's general manager, we all know how that works. I think then we will see if I feel like they're handling him with kid gloves and they're protecting him with some of these matches. And I think Angle's only in this match because The Rock couldn't be, not because Angle's not what he was.
I'm glad that you bring that up because this is what my point is. Kurt Angle was not the second choice for this match. Following The Rock not being able to do it, they actually called Batista and offered him the spot in this match.
But Batista only wants a one-on-one, right?
Well, we don't know. Batista did not clarify why he turned it down. And yes, the whole idea that he wanted to work he's always said he wanted to work a program with Triple H makes it seem awkward that he would turn this down. But my question to the both of you is, would you rather have seen Batista and Ronda, or does Kurt and Ronda work better? Because to me, Kurt and Ronda works better. Batista, other than the whole Batista Triple H history, it doesn't really work with me.
I'll take this before Anthony will, just because I think Anthony will probably have a more long-winded answer than I will, and his answer will probably be more interesting than I will. But I would think that it's just Ronda and Angle makes more sense to me. So, but go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I agree that it makes more sense just because Batista's been out of the picture. Why, or what's your reasoning to throw him in here with Ronda Rousey? At least Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle, they have the bond from the Olympics, being the medalists. I think it just makes more sense at this point in time than to just throw Batista in here for no reason. I just don't see a connection.
All right,
cool. All right, so what's next?
The return of Daniel Bryan.
Here we go. All right. So, what do we got, Dan? How you feeling this match?
Oh, me? Okay, it's really simple.
Yeah.
Originally, this match was set up, Daniel Bryan got cleared. Shane was there to kind of take all the big bumps. Bryan could come in, do what he's got to do, but also be protected. Now, with Shane basically coming off of surgery, I think the roles are reversed in that Daniel Bryan, who originally was in this match almost in kind of the same way that we talked about just Kurt Angle being protected, all of a sudden has to carry this match because the idea of Shane taking big bumps is off the table. I don't care that he says he's cleared. There's no way he's going to be able to do the things that we're accustomed to seeing Shane do with the crazy stunts and big bumps this close to coming off surgery. So I think Daniel Bryan becomes a bigger focal point in this match than they originally intended. But as far as the outcome, I don't think anything changes. I'd be very surprised if Daniel Bryan makes this triumphant return to lose. And I think we see KO and Sammy on the Raw after Mania.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of see it going the same way. I don't see any way Daniel Bryan loses cleanly. There's always that chance, and like I said, expect the unexpected. That's my theme and my prediction is that there's a chance that they can turn Shane. And that's how you have Bryan lose this one. There's always that chance, but if they don't do anything at all and keep it as is, I can also see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on Raw.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go with Daniel Bryan's gonna win. I will say this though. It's funny because it's weird in wrestling because as obvious as it seems that of course Daniel Bryan's gonna win because it's his return. Why would they make him lose? But it's that obvious sort of thinking, that assumption sort of thinking that makes me almost wonder, well, what does Vince McMahon have in mind? But no, but I do think obviously the high spots are not going to be happening with Shane McMahon, and that's to be expected. I don't think that's probably, by the way, that's not because of the diverticulitis. It's because of the hernia stuff. I mean, I have diverticulitis. I could still, I just ran to the bathroom. I ran to the bathroom and I ran to get a beer. I was cool.
Yeah, I would say the hernia surgery was a much bigger issue than the diverticulitis. I don't see how they have Bryan lose this match.
So yeah, that's pretty much cut and dry for me. I think it'll be a good match. I think it'll be without the high spot from Shane McMahon, and you'll get Daniel Bryan will ultimately get the win. However, it's by pin or submission, likely submission, probably.
I will say this: for as crazy as I always say Anthony comes up with these crazy theories. This one, although I don't see it, at least it's there, and they have it set up to do it.
No,
I would say all the build up for this, it'd be very easy to sell a Shane heel turn. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. I just, like I said, I'm just, like Mike said, it's very, the obvious thing is Bryan goes over.
Anthony should definitely get some props for that because that does have the potential of all of his theories. That does have the most potential to pan out. But the one thing I will say before we move on, I mean, God bless Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I am thrilled that Sami Zayn is in the spot that he's in. And I think it's only due in large part to the fact that he's a heel now. I think if he was a face, that he would have no business being on this WrestleMania card. Well, even though I think he deserves it. I love Owens and Zayn are two of the best heels going right now. Absolutely.
I think Zayn is corny as a face.
But exactly. And that's just like you said. That's like you said earlier, Anthony. And I think we're kind of getting this idea with Sami Zayn that there's some guys who just don't work as a face. And maybe that's Sami Zayn. Maybe, sure, it works on NXT and sure, it works on independent levels. But on WWE programming, maybe he's not a face. And I think that goes to what you were saying, Anthony. But I just wanted to say, we just quickly gloss over and we just go, yeah, no, it's going to be Bryan and, whatever. Just the work done by Owens and Zayn as heels should not be overlooked at all whatsoever. So
no,
I hope this leads to more stuff for Zayn. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yes, they have. 100%.
All right, let's get to the dream match, Styles and Nakamura. Anthony, you start this one.
I love this. I love this match. This is the match that we all wanted to see, and this is the match I really wanted to see. This has the chance to steal the show. They've been playing mind games with each other for the past month. Yeah, this is Nakamura's time. I think, like I said earlier, I think Asuka's going to take it, and I think Nakamura's going to take it. We've seen what AJ Styles is going to do. Now it's Nakamura's turn. I think they are going to continue this feud possibly until SummerSlam. I think they're going to put on a great match. I don't really have any crazy predictions with this one. I'm just really looking forward to it.
Okay.
Go ahead, take it, Mike.
Oh, okay. All right. My heart says AJ Styles. That's what I want. Be God's honest. That's what I'm rooting for. I'm rocking the Phenomenal One shirt. I think ultimately Nakamura is going to win this match. I don't like it. I think the whole theory is, I forget if it was Anthony or if it was Dan saying it earlier. I think it was you, Anthony, talking about how they put the belt on Jack Swagger. They put the belt on this guy, put the belt on that guy, see if they could sink or swim. I think you're getting that with Nakamura, but it's more legitimate, obviously. I think you should have more faith in Nakamura than like a Jack Swagger. But I think the WWE's mindset might be, let's give Nakamura the title on the Blue brand, on the Junior Varsity show, and let's see if he could sink or swim. And if he can swim, then we know that we can use him not only on SmackDown, but maybe one day on Raw. See how he develops. I think this is their opportunity to kind of do it under the radar. Again, I don't know. It's a gut feeling. I've had the gut feeling from the moment he threw Roman Reigns out of the Rumble. Nakamura is going to win this title, and he's going to be champion. And also my it also goes into on another plug, WrestlingNewsPro.com. I've got my predictions on who's going to be moving between Raw and SmackDown in the next Superstar Shakeup. I have Styles going to Raw, and the other big piece going the other way is Seth Rollins. So I think this also gives AJ Styles the opportunity to go ahead and go to Raw and make that the house that AJ Styles built. But how about you, Dan? What do you say?
The thing that I wrote in the in the prediction piece that I think fans should, I don't know if fans have made this correlation, but they should kind of hope for, is that you remember when AJ Styles first got the SmackDown, he was teamed up with Gallows and Anderson, and they did the whole beat up John Cena storyline.
Beat up John Cena. That was my favorite storyline. I hate John Cena.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and and then once Anderson and Gallows left, Styles kind of went out on his own, got the push, became the title holder, and came up to this point. You can only hope as a fan. We talked about Finn earlier and how he hasn't gotten the push, that he's on the same track as Styles. He now has been teamed up with Anderson and Gallows for a little bit. And you can only hope that he's on that same progression that Styles is. But yeah, we're all on the same page here. Nakamura has been set up to win this match ever since the Rumble. I mean, I don't think anybody was surprised that when he won. Same thing with Asuka. They've both been set up for this. And, I don't want to say that I would be surprised, but I kind of would if Styles retains. It just, everything has been set up for it to move on.
Hey,
No,
go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead. No, I'm good.
I was gonna say, if there was ever a chance they could, here's something that's not gonna happen. There's ever a chance you could bring Kenny Omega in. There's ever
Kenny's
a chance to bring CM Punk back. This is the
CM
feud
Punk's
to
not
throw him
coming.
in at.
Stop.
I'm just saying.
Stop with CM Punk.
Don't tease me. Don't tease me about
Stop with
CM Punk. Don't tease me.
CM Punk is not coming. CM Punk's UFC match just got confirmed. He's not coming.
I'm just saying. That's why I said it's probably not going to happen. But
and Kenny Omega isn't coming. Kenny Omega hates WWE almost as much as CM Punk. Not to mention, here's the thing. Here's the thing with CM Punk.
Money talks.
No, here's the thing with CM Punk. The day that lawsuit ends, then we can talk about a return. He's not coming while they have a lawsuit.
Right.
So everybody stop with CM Punk.
So we're all in agreement about Nakamura. So, Dan, are we up to the what will likely be the main event?
Yeah, by the way, Atlanta Mike took AJ Styles. He's the only one out on that limb.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, all right. So let's go to Brock's finale, which, by the way, the last time Brock did this, he was in that match with Goldberg in which it got booed mercifully. I don't think we'll get the same reaction. Roman's going to get booed, but I'm not sure that we're going to get that similar reaction. Let
me just ask one question before we get into the prediction. And I ask this to both of you, of course, obviously. Do you think that, given the, obviously, in case, again, you're living under a rock, Dana White basically announced, I guess, that Brock Lesnar is coming back to the UFC. So it's happening as if we didn't know it already. So between like Dan just mentioned, the WrestleMania 20 match against Goldberg and the way that went, and the natural, and although he's not going anywhere, people just don't like Roman Reigns. I do like him, but whatever. Do you guys think that puts them in a position to, I mean, as of right now, the rumor has been that match will go on last. Do you think that what's gone on with Dana White and how much people hate Roman Reigns, do you think that this is a chance in that WWE pulls the reins on that, maybe puts Nakamura and Styles last, maybe, dare I say, Charlotte and Asuka, or if Cena and Taker happens? What do you guys think? Do you think that they are going to hit the panic button here or no?
All right, I'll jump on this first. I don't think they're going to hit the panic button. If they did, remember, Styles Nakamura isn't happening as much as we all want it to. That should be the main event. It's not. Yeah. The conversation was that the only other match even considered for the main event was the Ronda match, which is just stupid.
That's
so.
Stupid.
So no, I don't
sitting through a table.
I don't think they're pulling the plug on this. I don't think they're concerned about that sort of reaction. I think that they're of the mindset Brock's going to get over no matter what they do. Some people might boo, but whatever. And that's that.
Yeah, Raw is clearly the A brand. It's not SmackDown. I don't think that's going to headline WrestleMania just for that reason alone. No other match makes sense. Cena Undertaker would make sense if they booked it right, but it didn't. The only one that makes sense is Reigns and Lesnar.
Here's the thing, though. If they're going to pull the plug, Cena Taker would be logical. You can string that out all the way to the end.
You could.
Yeah.
You could drop hints throughout the show. You could. But whatever.
But no, I don't think they're changing anything.
What are your all right, so then what are your predictions for the match?
Well, Brock's leaving. This is his last scheduled appearance. He's not going to be on.
This better be an across the board prediction.
Yeah, I mean he's not going to be on Raw the next day, even though that was the original. The original plan was for him to be on Raw the next day, for Bobby Lashley to return. Spoiler alert, and confront him. That's been scrapped. So yes, Roman has to win because Brock's not going to be here. The real question is there's got to be something more to this. Everybody knows Brock is leaving and that Roman's winning. There's no, not like a few years ago with the Seth cash in, hovering over and then that happening. There's nothing there. They have to add another element to this match. There's got to be something else, whether it's after the match or okay. And I put this in my piece. And this is as far-fetched as some of the stuff that Anthony throws out, but I'm going to throw it out there, okay? We've heard the rumblings of Rock being there. There was supposed to be this whole big thing with him, Elias, and Jeff Jarrett that got scrapped and blah, 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 blah. So whether or not Rock will be there or not, who knows? And Rock wrestling a real match seems very far-fetched at this point. But you want to get Roman over, or you want to, finally just give Roman some sort of validity, have him win, have The Rock come out, have him rock bottom Roman, and set that up for a year from now.
Love it. Love it. I love it. But as far as the match is concerned, why not bring Lashley back at WrestleMania? If you need that extra, he's the obvious other element. What?
He's not, because he's not in that storyline anymore. He was gonna go with Lesnar on Monday. Lesnar won't be there.
Right.
Joe's getting Reigns, so Lashley's gonna get somebody else. I could see Lashley Braun.
Well, in Anthony's defense, and
I like Lashley Reigns better.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm stepping on Anthony's toes here. I'll say this, and then Anthony, you could take the reins, but perhaps you have Lashley come back here simply for, yes, we know Lesnar's leaving, but we know Lesnar will eventually be back.
Exactly.
So maybe he does something, and Anthony, go ahead.
You're taking the words right out of my mouth.
That's why I let you go.
You let Bobby Lashley interfere in this match. Lesnar doesn't lose cleanly. Roman wins, and you're setting up Lesnar and Roman Reigns, because that's what I really want to see. I don't want to see Bobby Lashley and Lashley and Reigns. I don't want to see Lashley and Strowman. That doesn't do anything for me.
Mike, you said something, and I find it interesting. Are we all under the assumption that Brock will come back?
Yes.
I don't think we all are. I just think I am.
I'm not. I'm the only one that's not. Listen,
not that he's coming back soon, but that he's coming once the UFC run is done. He'll come back.
How many more UFC matches does he have in him? Let's face it.
Whoa, hold on. For as big as Triple H guy as Anthony is, I'm the Brock Lesnar guy here. I'm the guy who's got every freaking Death Clutch shirt over here in a drawer, and I could wear them for a month. Remember, Brock did his thing. He came back last time because he got full-time money on part-time pay, like he said. And he would have stayed this time, except Vince wasn't gonna do the same thing he did last time, letting him go to UFC and do one-offs. Brock wants UFC. He wants the full combat carnage. He's made the money here. He can go do 2-3 fights in UFC. John Jones is off the table now. That would have been huge money. I don't think him and Conor would happen. There's too much of a weight discrepancy, but they can find a big money fight for him. 2-3 matches. He makes the money, and then he can go on his farm and do whatever the hell he wants. I don't think it's a certain thing he comes back again.
Yeah, but then, okay, you're saying he could do 2 or 3 matches, but the training involved for MMA, I mean, I know training for WWE is one thing, but you're like, MMA is totally different. You have to make weight. you have to, it's a different training, man.
Two or three
fights is a year-long prep for each.
That's what I'm saying. 2 or 3 fights, it's going to take 4 or 5 years because he's still got the suspension to kill off.
Yeah, but at least with the WWE, he can take a couple days off of training if he wants to and go hunting. You can't do that with MMA training. Vince isn't going to let him do both.
All right. Well, this is what I would say. This is why I think Brock will eventually come back to WWE.
The conditioning alone in MMA.
Right. Well, but Dan, it's just like you just said earlier, Dan. You had said that Brock made the comment, or the comment was made, whatever, that he was making full-time pay while working part-time. That door, while it's not open right now because Vince McMahon doesn't want him hopping back and forth, which I completely understand, let's not get it twisted. That door is going to be open. Vince McMahon, as long as he's breathing, he's going to have that door open for Brock Lesnar. He will give Brock Lesnar that money to work that schedule if he wants to come back again. There's going to be no way that Brock Lesnar would say, hey, Vince, I'm interested in returning. And then Vince is going to be like, well, I'm going to give you part-time pay for part-time schedule. He's too big of a draw. He's going to give him full-time pay for part-time work. And that's why I think that we could see, while I don't think it's going to be SummerSlam return. I don't think it's going to be next year's WrestleMania return. I think it's going to be a return down the road for one very last run with the company. But I think he'll be back at some point. And then if Lashley's still around, then you're able to use that feud because of Anthony's theory. If not, if Lashley's gone, then who the hell cares? Brock Lesnar's back. Who the hell cares what Bobby Lashley is? So that's my answer to that. Dan, I'll let you answer once I quickly make my prediction. Obviously, Roman Reigns is going to win because Brock's going to be gone. I will just say this, though, because there's been a lot of criticism about how something else has to be done. This can't be the match. And I'll say this much. In putting together the WrestleMania prediction piece for the main events, which, spoiler alert, Dan, you had WrestleMania 31 on there somewhere. We won't tell people because we want them to read. So in writing that up, I went ahead and I watched that match over again. And from the opening bell, I think it was about 12 to 15 minutes before Rollins' music hit. In that amount of time, there was an actual story told in that match. And it was actually a good match. If you brought down your blinders from hating the fact that Brock Lesnar is a champion and being a part-timer, if you brought down your blinders that you hate that they continue to shove Roman Reigns down your throat, there was a good story told in that match. And I think you could do that again in this one. While I do, fine, there should be some kind of oomph there. Maybe not just an outcome between the two. Just don't underestimate the two being able to put on a good match. That's all I'll say. But Roman Reigns is going to win. So
I think what Dan is trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the concern more about Brock's effort because he's leaving?
No, I don't. No, not that. I have no concern about the match itself. My concern, I'm saying that because we all know what the outcome is going to be because of Brock's exit. So there has to be something else for us, for the interest.
Okay. No, fair enough. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, listen.
All right.
Dan, do you have something else to say or no? Because I have something fun that we can do in closing before we close the show.
We have one last prediction.
Which one was that?
The impromptu Cena Taker match.
Oh, well, I mean, we did talk about that earlier, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
fine.
I mean, yeah. Well, here's one thing I wanted to do before we close out the show. And I think this is something that we can do going forward. We could do it at the top of our show. I want to give us all something to rant about. Floor is yours if you've got something you want to rant about, especially this being WrestleMania. Something that pisses you off, whether it be obvious, whether it not be obvious. I think Dan has probably already got something loaded in the barrel, so who do we want to go with first? Do we want to go with Dan or do we want to go with Anthony? Anthony's thinking. Dan looks like he's ready to jump through the screen. What do we got?
I feel like we've already done this rant. I'm trying to think of something new, but I mean, like I said, I don't have anything off the top of my head other than the obvious, which is the creative again screwed this whole Taker Cena match. I mean, the idea that we can just go for weeks with Cena running his mouth and doing Undertaker things and taking shots and having a weird match with Kane, and that's going to be the buildup for this match is, I got no other word. Asinine. Me and Anthony have brought it up a few times, and I think we even talked about it a couple of weeks ago with you. There were so many options to how to go about building this match the right way. And yet they've gone with not only the worst option, but an option that nobody would have thought of. You could have came up with every option in the world and nobody would have thought of, hey, you know what? How about we just don't build it at all? So, yeah, that's what I got. I mean, just a match with two legends, and we've decided we're just not going to build it. Wonderful.
Anthony, what's so funny?
You.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan, it wasn't your point. It was the fact that I texted Anthony while you were talking and said I just finished 6 beers. And Anthony is trying to hold it together. So.
Now that was impromptu.
Yeah, that was impromptu. So. All right. Well, I agree with everything Dan said, but Anthony, do you have a take similar to his, or do you have something?
Yeah, very
separate?
similar, and its booking as a whole sucks. WWE creative is everything but that. I don't think they're very creative at all. And I remember back when they had a guy like was it Freddie Prinze Jr. He was in creative.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Bring him back. They need more of a fans approach in creative right now, because it seems like all you have is Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon. You have all the McMahons. You have Triple H. It's all these wrestling guys. They need to throw somebody like Freddie Prinze Jr. back into this and go a little bit in a different direction.
Heyman.
What, Heyman in booking?
Heyman creative.
Heyman creative, right? All right. Well,
bring Bruce Pritchard back.
Hey, love Bruce Pritchard. All right, I'll say a couple things here. Quickly, as long as we're talking about guys who should be in creative or should be somewhere, I'm just going to say this now before I go on my rant. Jake the Snake Roberts should be at the Performance Center teaching NXT people how to do promos.
Yep.
So I'll leave it at that. So that's out of the way. But as far as my rant, because I had a feeling, and listen, in your defense, I sprung this on both of you. It just came to me during the show.
By the way,
something. What's that?
Just
what do you got?
Very quickly to cut you off, I have a different one. So I've got one after you.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. But I think this will be good for the show. I think this will be good, especially if we do it to start off the show. Makes for good debate. But mine is this, and hopefully I'm not stealing yours now since you have an idea. But my whole thing is this: is that there's women everywhere on this WrestleMania card, which is fantastic. The women movement has been real. I'm a big supporter of it. I love it. Where I think they dropped the ball, and from the backstage reports, it sounds like the women, the two I'm talking about, dropped it as a whole. I don't know why we're not seeing a Sasha Banks and a Bayley WrestleMania match. I don't know why that's not happening. When they wrestled at NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, it's one of the more – listen, and I said this before off air about a different NXT thing, but if that match had happened on regular WWE programming, it would be known as one of the greatest women's matches of all time. Instead, somebody like Anthony, all due respect, Anthony, you don't watch a lot of NXT. I say that to you, and then you go, well, whatever. I mean, it was on NXT. But the match that they had on NXT was something else, and they had a true potential.
I get it.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to phrase it in the sense that some people may not watch the NXT product, and therefore they may not know. But they had a real opportunity here to make a which would be unprecedented on top of all the unprecedented things that they want to do with women. They had an opportunity to make an unprecedented women's match that A, wasn't a mixed tag match, or B, wasn't for a title. Just a one-on-one singles women's match. You had that opportunity. You had it with Sasha. You had it with Bayley. I hear some of the backstage reports were that apparently Bayley and Sasha didn't like the way they were being booked as far as the feud was going. It was drawn out as hell. Apparently they were upset that Alexa Bliss is champion, but to that I say learn how to be as good of a heel as her, and then you'll be okay. But I think they dropped the ball.
Not get hurt.
Or Sasha not get hurt, exactly. But I think they dropped the ball here. I think they could have potentially had a big marquee one-on-one woman versus woman match, which is what they want. They want that whole thing, don't they? So I think they dropped the ball on that one. But other than that, I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of the whole card. But
hey, Mike, to your point,
if you guys have a rebuttal or what?
No, Mike, to your point, think about it. The best storyline that they probably have going right now is not a match on the card.
What? As far as them two, you saying?
Yeah, give me a better storyline right now going on either Raw or SmackDown than those two.
Yeah.
I'll say they finally did build up for a match, and they're not having it.
Right, Anthony. Did you have anything on that front, or?
No, just the fact that I just, and I think I said this last week or the week before, I just don't see Bayley's character getting over in the main on the main roster.
No, I don't think so either. I think this would be more about propelling Sasha Banks into a heel persona, which is what she does best.
Yes.
I think it would be more about that, than trying to elevate Bayley. I think WWE, much to Triple H's chagrin, has realized that Bayley's just not going to get over with this WWE Universe crowd. But Dan, your thoughts on that? And if I didn't spoil your last take, what was your last take before?
No, you did not spoil my last take. And since everybody hates Roman, I'm going to toss on Roman some more. Roman came out and said that he feels that the part-timers getting spots in WrestleMania is taking away from the full-time guys. Roman, are you kidding me? Do you not realize that the part-time guys, for the most part, are the draws on the card? Think about the part-time guys that we're talking about. Triple H to Anthony, Brock, even John Cena, Taker of all people. Taker fights once a year. And they're taking who are you putting in those spots? They're not taking away anything. It's one night a year. And I get that it's WrestleMania and everybody works to WrestleMania, but guys that deserve to be on the card are on the card in one way or another. They're not losing spots. Stop.
I do have one last rant. As long as we can't stop ranting. And I swear to God, I'm done. I made a tweet like this. Apparently there's some reports out there that John Cena, who everybody knows I love so much, John Cena was upset with WWE and is upset with The Rock, apparently. I don't know what the hell The Rock has to do with it, but he's upset with both of them, apparently, because WWE is promoting The Rock's movie, Rampage, which is the arcade game that we all know and love. They're promoting that, but they're not promoting John Cena's movie called Blockers. Cena, listen, I know Undertaker's egomaniac and not you. I know that. I get it. Well, I can't do this without cursing. But John, you're in a movie about 3 girls that are on a conquest to lose their virginity, and you're on a PG show, a PG Raw show. At what point do you think they're going to promote your movie? It's about girls losing their virginity, talking about dicks, talking about breaking guys in half in the commercial. You think they're going to put that on WWE programming? Say, hey, we got a PG going, but this is a good idea. Let's give John his minute and a half movie promo here. No, guy, that's not how it works. If you want to get promoted on WWE, make the Tooth Fairy, whatever. That's what it is. This guy.
Did he not get promoted
the stones
enough?
on this guy. The stones on this guy to call the Undertaker an egomaniac, but then to be upset that they're not promoting his film about girls being on a quest to lose their virginity. Give me a break, John. Go to hell. That's my 2 cents.
Did he not get promoted enough as the host of the freaking Kids' Choice Award? I had to see that thing every 5 minutes.
Well, nothing. Y'all hate John Cena, but like Kurt Angle. So it doesn't make sense.
It makes perfect sense. But that's the whole reason why they go. But that's the reason why they shoved the Kids' Choice Awards down our throats, because they didn't want to promote blockers. So they wanted to try and make John Cena happy. So let's promote this. So that's it.
I think that's going to be next week's show. The fallout from Mania, the Raw after, obviously we'll have all that. And then we can just dive in on everything that Anthony's wrong about, because that could be a show on its own.
We'll see next week. We'll see.
All right. Well, that's it for me.
I'll say. All right, that's it for this week. Again, go on Wrestling News Pro. Check out all our predictions. As Mike said, we're going to get the piece up of the top 10 WrestleMania main events of all time.
Right.
And obviously we're pumped. Hall of Fame tomorrow, NXT TakeOver Saturday, and then the big show on Sunday. Follow all of us on Twitter. I'm at Dan Siegel Uncut. Anthony is at The Real NFL Guru. And Mike is the FF Realist. I would say follow us. I'm sure we'll all be tweeting one way or another. I would say you can follow the show, which is at Heel Turn Radio. And obviously you can also follow the site at Wrestling News Pro. I'll say we've got you covered from all angles and aspects. So check us out. If you missed any of the show, it'll be on The Grueling Truth as well.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys again next week.
Enjoy Mania.